And I'll bet a year from now he's going to have moved on from that. And eventually he's going to, when he starts paying for dinner and so forth, he's really going to become extraordinary. And the same thing is true in music. I mean, he loves Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Toad. I'm a new grandfather. He likes that sort of thing right now, and his library is somewhat limited. He loves books, but he's going to move through. He's going to progress. We all do in our musical. We encounter different music just naturally. We become more selective. We start paying $50 for a ticket and $70 for a ticket. And so, how much did you pay tonight? So we become more and more discriminatory. But all of this visual swill is around you all the time. There's no discrimination. So we have a lot of work in a design program to develop an appreciation, a true understanding for design quality, and to make people realize that the knockoffs of the furniture that their grandparents had is not, the high design in terms of industrial design. There are alternatives. And if people are given the chance to encounter alternatives, it's surprising how responsive they are. Massimo Vignelli designed Hellerware. Suddenly plastic dishes look like plastic, and people had that choice, and they bought it, and it's still around a long time after the plastic dishes that had flowers and pretended to be China. Fundamentals. I'll bet the students got absolutely fed up with my attempt to parallel design and tennis. If Heinz talked about tennis as much as I do, you wouldn't be here.
We thought about it.
The fundamentals are important in design and in tennis. The greatest players, the pro players now, come from all over the world. Of course, it's an truly international sport. Incidentally, just a little brief interception here. You should all start playing tennis if you don't. It's a great game. You have to do something physical. In contrast to the other stuff that we do. In any event, getting back to the fundamentals, the players come from all over the world, and every one of them, Roger Federer, Nadal, Sharapova, every great tennis player went through the same fundamental lessons. They weren't born with a gift to be a great tennis player. They went through the same fundamentals. They learned how to hold the racket, different grips, and so forth. Practice backhands over and over and over and so forth. The same lessons, the same process that their predecessors did 50 years ago. The technology has changed. This isn't a wooden racket anymore. Technology has changed, but the fundamentals are critical. And in too many circumstances, the fundamentals are shortchanged. And I think that's unfortunate. And you can't speed it up either. Roger Federer has very quick matches. Not because he's super talented, or that he was super talented as a child, because he spends hours and hours practicing, training, trying different strokes. Hours and hours before every match, even though he's the best player in the world. Probably. And that's why it's all that time before that allows him to finish his matches very quickly. And because he has trained and has the fundamentals down, and it becomes a part of his body and a part of his mindset, he can then draw on that spontaneously to invent shots that nobody else has ever done. It's not uncommon in graphic design programs, even now, for a sophomore level student to be given a poster assignment or a package design project or whatever. Oscar's still learning to crawl, then he's going to walk, then he's going to run, and so forth. Designers have to do that also. So the fundamentals are critical. Somewhat in relation to this, I've tried to point out that, or said, maybe not with the students, but with other faculty, that as far as I'm concerned, an assignment can be too complex for a given level student. And if it's too complex for a given level, then most of the lessons fly over their head. An assignment can never be too simple, however. It can never be too simple, because there are always levels of consideration. There are always layers that you can deal with, layers of complexity. Now, you think about, within that context, design aesthetics, the sophomore level that I've been teaching, for instance, one line on a page. One line on a page is not a single message. It's a compound message. It's a line on a page, but it's in a particular location relative to that page and in relation to other things on the format. And it's a straight or a curved line, or it's a certain kind of curve versus another kind of curve. It has a particular length. It has a color. It ends in a certain way. It blends off, or it ends abruptly, or whatever. All of those things are like individual words that contribute to the message. And a designer, a design student, should be able to select and put together the correct components. Just like, you know, and for people who assume that takes the magic out of design, that it takes the creativity out of it, you analyze and select and are able to articulate those considerations and so forth. Well, our highest, I assume we agree, our highest level of literature is poetry. And what do poets do? They select words very, very carefully. And it becomes beautiful and it seems just spontaneous and so forth. It eventually becomes spontaneous. But you have to digest the knowledge, the experience, the practice, and so forth, and then you spontaneously do what is necessary. And eventually improvise. Excellence. I mentioned excellence earlier, and I think it's, as designers, and particularly as design educators, excellence should be a goal consistently. I mean, hopefully, in any profession it should be. If you're going for surgery, you don't want the doctor to do a decent job. You want to do the best he or she has ever done and take it to a new level. And the same thing for legal representation. You want every professional to be the best possible. And that's true in design. Students should strive for excellence. Designers should strive for excellence. If you don't live with excellence, you can't, how can it's disingenuous to try to teach it in one context and not demonstrate it in another. So if you have ugly eyeglasses, or furniture, or architecture, or whatever, it doesn't compute. It doesn't fit. You can't. How can you say that you believe in excellence and try to teach it theoretically in graphic design and not demonstrate and support it and reflect it in every other aspect of your life? And that's true for industrial designers also, or architects, or what have you. And if I go into that doctor, that surgeon's office, incidentally, and he's the guy that has that black velvet painting on the wall, I'm going to have less confidence in him. So if you understand excellence, and if it's a part of who you are, a part of your life, then you reflect it in whatever ways possible. And as design educators, I've always felt that there are any number of ways that you operate as a role model. And as I said, I think it's disingenuous if you talk about quality in one